Today's story is one of the most chilling cases you'll ever hear. It's about a princess who vanished mysteriously one night, only to be discovered 4 years later in a condition so horrifying you won't believe it. Just when the police were about to close the case, a drunk man made a shocking revelation that sent shivers down their spines. But who was this mysterious man who unraveled a case that had remained unsolved for 4 long years? Today's story is about Shakira Khaleeli.
Presumed missing.
High profile, wealthy and beautiful, was missing. Granddaughter of the former Divan of Mysore.
Shakira was born into a rich and respected Muslim family. Her grandfather was Sir Mirza Ismail, who was once the Diwan of the Mysore royal family. When Shakira was 18, she married her first cousin, Akbar Khaleeli. Akbar worked in the Indian Foreign Service and held important positions, such as High Commissioner in different countries, including Australia. Because of his job, Akbar spent most of his time living abroad. Shakira herself was a successful real estate businesswoman and known for her stunning beauty. She owned large properties, making her a billionaire. Even with all her wealth, Shakira longed for a son. She had 4 lovely daughters, but always felt sad for not having a boy. She also struggled with her husband being away so often, which sometimes caused arguments between them. In 1983, Shakira traveled to Delhi to attend a grand royal event hosted by the Nawab of Rampur. During the event, she crossed paths with a man named Shraddhanand. His real name was Murli Manohar Mishra, and he came from Sagar in Madhya Pradesh. Shraddhanand had a sharp mind when it came to property and taxes. At that time, he was in charge of managing the Nawab of Rampur's property. On top of that, Shraddhanand claimed to have knowledge of occult practices, which added to his mysterious image. Shakira, already stressed by the new land sealing laws that threatened her vast estate, found herself fascinated by Shraddhanand's skills and knowledge after their meeting. Shraddhanand soon discovered that Shakira was deeply troubled by not having a son, even though she had 4 daughters. Sensing her vulnerability, he seized the opportunity to manipulate her. He convinced Shakira that through his supposed occult powers, he could help her fulfill her dream of having a son. Desperate for this, Shakira fell into Shraddhanand's trap, believing in his false promises. Their bond grew stronger over time. Shraddhanand used various tricks to deceive Shakira, slowly gaining her trust. By 1985, just 2 years after meeting him, Shakira made the difficult decision to divorce her husband. A year later, in 1986, Shakira Khaleeli married Shraddhanand, completely under his influence. The news of Shakira Khaleeli's marriage took the entire family by surprise and left everyone completely stunned. Her relatives, who were already upset with her, became even more furious when they learned she had remarried. Their anger was particularly intense because Shakira was already a mother of 4 daughters, which made them believe her second marriage was inappropriate. This led to a deep divide in the family, with most of her relatives severing their connections with her. Even her own 3 daughters distanced themselves from her, choosing to go live with their father instead. Despite the emotional turmoil, Shakira Khaleeli, along with her youngest daughter, packed their belongings and moved into her grand, luxurious mansion located at 81 Richmond Road in Ashok Nagar, Bengaluru. This impressive home, which exuded wealth and elegance, had always belonged to Shakira. It was in this mansion that Shakira began her new life with her new husband, Shraddhanand. Among Shakira's daughters, Sabah Khaleeli stood out for her striking beauty, much like her mother. She had a deep love for modeling and dreamt of making it her career. After spending some time with her mother in Bengaluru, she eventually made the decision to move to Mumbai, the city of dreams, where she could actively pursue her passion and career in the modeling industry. Although Sabah had moved to Mumbai, she stayed in regular touch with her mother. They often talked on the phone, and whenever she could, Sabah visited Bengaluru to see her. Most of the relatives had distanced themselves from Shakira, but she would sometimes talk to her mother. A few years went by like this. Then, out of the blue, in April 1991, Shakira vanished. Nobody knew the exact day she went missing. In Mumbai, Sabah realized she hadn't heard from her mother for several days. Since mobile phones weren't common then, she called the landline, but no one answered. Occasionally, Shraddha picked up and would say Shakira had gone out, sometimes to another city, sometimes overseas. Months went by without any news from Shakira. For almost 9 months, Shraddha kept giving different excuses for her absence. Whenever Sabah asked about her mother, he would come up with reasons like she was out of town or busy. Finally, one day, fed up with all the excuses, Sabah couldn't hold back her frustration any longer. She angrily warned Shraddha, "If I don't get to speak to my mother soon, I'm going to the police." Hearing this, Shraddha quickly changed his story. He told Sabah that her mother was pregnant and had gone to a hospital to give birth. He even mentioned the name Rosebelt General Hospital and told Sabah to find their phone number so she could talk to her mother directly. Hopeful, Sabah called the hospital right away, but to her shock, the staff said that no one by the name of Shakira Khaleeli had ever been admitted there. This raised deep concerns for Sabah. She began to realize that Shraddha was hiding the truth and making up lies. Now, more than ever, she felt certain that something was terribly wrong. In June 1992, Sabah traveled to Bengaluru and filed a missing person report for her mother, Shakira Khaleeli, at the Ashok Nagar police station. She also informed the police that she suspected Shraddha's involvement in the case. Shakira's disappearance was taken seriously, as she came from a well-known royal family, which pushed the police to act quickly. When questioned, Shraddha insisted that Shakira had simply gone on a long vacation. However, no clues or evidence could be found about where Shakira might be. The Bengaluru crime branch soon joined the investigation. By this time, in 1991, Shraddha had started calling himself Swami Shraddhanand and was living as a religious guru with a growing number of followers in Bengaluru. His supporters included influential figures such as politicians, businessmen, and other prominent individuals. Shraddha's powerful connections made the police reluctant to press him for more answers, especially since they had no concrete proof to link him to any crime, despite Sabah's repeated accusations. She constantly voiced her suspicions, but without any solid evidence, the authorities were hesitant to take stronger action against him. 3 long years passed since Shakira's sudden disappearance in 1991. During this time, her daughters and other family members grew increasingly worried, fearing the worst. Meanwhile, Shraddha continued to live comfortably in Shakira's lavish mansion, showing no signs of concern. He enjoyed a life of luxury, hosting guests and carrying on as if nothing had happened. By April 1994, after years of investigation, the Bengaluru crime branch, having found no leads or solid evidence, was preparing to close the case. They were getting ready to submit a final report, which would clear Shraddha of any wrongdoing, officially giving him a clean chit. Just as the case was about to be closed, something extraordinary occurred. A constable from the crime branch had a friend in the Karnataka police who was on duty at a liquor store on April 29, 1994. That day, his friend, dressed in plain clothes, overheard a drunken man loudly criticizing the police, calling them useless and incompetent. Curious, the constable's friend struck up a conversation with the man. In his drunken state, the man began ranting, saying, "Our boss committed a murder and hid the body in the house, and to this day, no one has figured it out." The constable's friend immediately became alert and acted as though he didn't believe the man, trying to get more details. Feeling challenged, the man angrily continued, "Ever heard of Shakira Khaleeli? She was our boss's wife. He killed her, put her in a coffin, buried her in the house, and no one ever found out. I even helped him buy the coffin." This startling confession was the breakthrough the investigation desperately needed. The name Shakira Khaleeli was all too familiar to the police. For the past 3 years, Her missing person report had been circulated in every police station across Karnataka, and the crime branch had been actively searching for her. The drunken man not only mentioned her name, but also gave the constable the address of the shop where the coffin had been purchased. The constable wasted no time and immediately alerted his superiors and the crime branch. By the time the police tracked down the man for further questioning, he had sobered up. It was soon discovered that he was a former servant of Swami Shraddhanand, who had quit working for him about a year and a half ago. The following morning, the police visited the coffin shop. After reviewing the records from 3 years earlier, the shopkeeper confirmed that Swami Shraddhanand had indeed purchased a coffin. He had come to the shop with his servant and explained that he needed a custom-made coffin to store a life-sized antique statue. Armed with this new information, the police began connecting the dots, building on what the former servant had already disclosed. By the afternoon of April 30th, 1994, the crime branch team arrived at Swami Shraddhanand's house. Initially, Shraddhanand denied all accusations, acting calm and dismissive. But when they brought in his former servant to confront him, his demeanor changed, and he became visibly anxious. Despite this, Shraddhanand still attempted to use his influence and powerful connections to intimidate the officers. However, the crime branch, now certain they were on the right track, didn't back down. They intensified their questioning and applied pressure. Finally, unable to maintain his facade any longer, Shraddhanand crumbled and confessed the entire truth. If you watched till here, please like this video and subscribe our channel. Thank you. In 1983, Shraddhanand crossed paths with Shakira Khaleeli for the first time. It didn't take long for him to uncover her impressive background. Shakira was the granddaughter of the Diwan of Mysore's royal family and owned vast properties in both Mumbai and Bengaluru. As he learned more about her, Shraddhanand quickly realized just how wealthy she was. Shakira was a billionaire. Driven by greed, Shraddhanand devised a plan. He pretended to be deeply in love with her, playing on Shakira's vulnerabilities. At that time, Shakira was longing for a son, and Shraddhanand skillfully manipulated her, leading her to believe in his false affection. For the first few years of their marriage, everything appeared to be normal. But over time, Shakira began to notice Shraddhanand's growing obsession with her wealth. Despite the fact that her 3 daughters weren't living with her, Shakira intended to divide her fortune equally among them. She began to sense that Shraddhanand's interest in her was not about love, but about securing control over her immense assets. As Shraddhanand's true motives became clear, Shakira decided to give all her property to her daughters. This led to frequent fights between them, and Shraddhanand, fearing he would lose the wealth he hoped to gain, made a deadly choice. He decided he needed to get rid of Shakira before she could transfer her property. Knowing that Shakira's death would immediately point to him, Shraddhanand came up with a plan to make her disappear completely, ensuring no one would ever find her. On April 28, 1991, he chose this day to act on his plan. He sent all the servants away and made tea for Shakira, adding a sedative to it. Once she drank the tea, she fell into a deep, unconscious state. The day before, Shraddhanand had arranged for a big hole to be dug in the middle of the house, pretending it was for a new water tank. On the afternoon of April 28th, the coffin was delivered right in front of Shakira, who didn't realize what was really happening. After Shakira fell unconscious, Shraddhanand put her on a mattress, sealed it in the coffin, and locked it. He then buried the coffin in the hole, covering it with soil. Shakira was not dead at that time. She was just unconscious. Shraddhanand then had young Raju hire some new workers, who packed down the soil and built a floor on top. Special Italian marble was used for the floor, and the workers laid it out, completely unaware that someone was buried underneath. A day later, when the flooring was finished, Shraddhanand had a small corner built and threw a party at his home. The party, with drinks, dancing, and music, went on all night on that same marble floor. For the next 3 years, Shraddhanand kept throwing parties with dancing and singing, often joining in the fun himself. Before Shakira was buried in 1987, He had already secured control of her property through a power of attorney. He enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle in that house until his crime was exposed due to a mistake by his servant. The truth about Shakira Khaleeli's death was revealed, and the police took Shraddhanand to Richmond Road in Bangalore. There, they dug up the floor and found Shakira Khaleeli's skeleton in the coffin. This was the first time in India that a crime scene was recorded on video, and also the first time DNA testing was used to confirm that the skeleton was Shakira Khaleeli's. During the forensic examination, they discovered hundreds of scratch marks on the inside of the coffin, made by her fingernails. This horrifying evidence showed that after waking up, Shakira had desperately tried to escape from the coffin. Shakira had tried to scratch and open the wooden coffin with her nails, but eventually suffocated to death. It's a horrifying thought, being buried alive, struggling for breath underground while someone partied above where she was entombed. Just imagining it is chilling. When the news broke, it shocked the nation. People couldn't believe someone could be so cruel, burying his own wife alive for money, and then celebrating on the very floor where she lay. On April 30th, 1994, Shraddhanand was arrested. The trial took 11 years, with 150 witnesses giving their accounts. On May 21st, 2005, the Bengaluru Sessions Court sentenced Shraddhanand to death for murdering Shakira Khaleeli. The court described it as a rarest of the rare case, where someone buried his wife alive just for her wealth, covered the floor with costly marble, and then continued to throw parties in the same house. The court decided that such a person, more heartless than an animal, did not deserve to live. The case was then appealed to the High Court, which upheld the death sentence. It reached the Supreme Court in 2007, and in 2008, the Supreme Court changed the sentence to life imprisonment, but stated that Shraddhanand would never be eligible for parole or release. After spending some time in Bengaluru jail, he was moved to Central Jail in Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, in 2011, where he remains to this day. That was today's case. If you'd like to support me, please click the thanks button. I truly appreciate it.